Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you, MediaVision, for this panel and for inviting us to the conference about casting, which is so important. The first thing that I would love to do before we get through all the questions is to watch a short trailer that we have from Danny. So direction, if you want to show the trailer, we are ready, and then we will comment and ask some question about the importance of casting in a TV show and in a drama.
We cast a group of fantastic American girls.
12 American girls searching for love have moved into an English castle to meet an ordinary guy who is pretending to be a prince. Welcome to the fairy tale.
Oh my God! How beautiful.
I'm Dr. Colin King.
So, Dennis,
Right.
From your experience, especially in unscripted and reality show, as we have seen in this trailer, how is important the casting and the choice of the right person, the right people?
Yeah, it is. Hi, everybody. It is very important. Obviously, me coming from the totally unscripted world, whenever we mention casting, everybody is going straight to the reality shows, and as we can saw from the very first trailer, which I have to obviously give big credits to Danny Fenton and Zigzag and Fox, making it all happen. It was, as you could see, like getting very nice ladies coming from US to the UK and meeting a charming man who not necessarily pretend, but look like a prince. So we had to pick up the right points in the right type of girls or right type of ladies who would fit the show. And like translation that is casting. But not only reality shows as this one was only connected with the unscripted casting. On this particular one, it was straightforward, if you like, to find the ladies who were very interested, and beautiful and clever, and obviously different characters, clashing characters in between, being a little bit selfish, and everything what you can expect from literally any reality show. Having said that about this one, the other part which I'm going to finish with, it was talking about actually celebrities or famous people. They also need some kind of casting to get into your show, but it's not something that you can just jump in and say, okay, are you a celebrity? Do you want to be part of the show? So you really have to do a lot of groundwork. The first one, the reality shows for the unscripted, it is not only the way of trying to cast the right people, because sometimes you're going to have, the endless, as you know, all the shows which have the voting of the audience that, they can drop in the first, second, third week. So you really have to challenge if you have 10, 15, 20 contenders that are going to win. So if you have literally 2 or 3 good ones, and they, for some reason they leave the show early, so you're risking of not having the very good rhythm of the show all the time. So you have to have literally weight every single personality at the same time, so they literally can be literally, but it can be like entertaining, funny, and clever, and selfish. Picking up all this more in different doses, if you like. The second show, which I would give also example, is it was back in time Zigzag. It was called My Fair Lady. So there were 4 American actresses being chosen to move from the US to the UK and do West End show. the small print is they were all porn film stars. So, getting them, casting them, and getting them into real Western show, it is, you can imagine, very, very tricky. Having said that, like many of the shows, as we're talking, I don't know, X Factor or The Apprentice or endless of shows, which you have a part of the show that is literally the casting. So the power of the casting becomes the part of the show, because the first episode, or usually the first episodes, are talking about how did you cast, and it is, very interesting and hilarious, as I mentioned, X Factor or Got Talents and all these people. How did they come and how they presented themselves to give the best of themselves to be part of the casting. So it is tricky, when it comes to the casting, you really can love somebody, but not necessarily love enough to be part of the show, because that there's some qualities are missing, and they're going to be needed, if you like, during the process. The second part, which I talking about celebrities, it's, as I say, we keep talking about, when we talk casting, especially for unscripted, obviously, it is that it is not just for the reality shows. The second part is the, probably as you can hint it from the short clips, it's about the crime series, and Dr. King is the one of the main doctors who the mass murderers come when they are caught and they got to prison. So he's the first kind of point of contact with all of them, and we did a lot of groundwork in order to talk to him, to discuss the subject, and he became the main part of the show. But now the question is, who is going to be his left hand, right hand, who we are going to talk to, because so many different, if you like, important people or celebrities, as you can see, if we have a Johnny Depp lawyer, obviously we are going to get him, as we did. We were lucky to get him on board. But we really have to do, as I say, a lot of groundwork before you go to the celebrity or you go to these important people and the doctors and ask them to be, and hoping that they're going to be part of the show. So, casting is, it is for celebrities as well, just because you have to be more careful in terms of choosing and hoping they will, they'll confirm, because it could happen that, you prefer somebody more than somebody else, and this one, just doesn't want to be in the show for various reasons. And then you obviously can go back to the option B. So there is a lot of groundwork to do, as I say, about celebrities, but the bottom line is that every single casting is so important, but you have to nourish from the very beginning in order, to get to the bottom line and the finalist, because you can't go back. That's the biggest danger, I think, and biggest challenge for the casting, and I'm sure the script as well. And
we can see that casting for a reality show, for an unscripted show, is totally different from casting for a series where you have to deal with a celebrity, with the stars. That is an important issue. Also, how you can mix the celebrity with the non-actor person. But before that, because I want to ask you that question, we show a trailer from Warner. So I gently ask my director to show the trailer that we have, so we can have an overview of a script and series from Warner Bros.
I see possible futures. It's breathtaking.
Every good thing in this world started with a dream. So you hold on to yours. You have a greater purpose than any of us could have ever imagined.
We've really tried to push it up a notch. It is called House of the Dragon. world.
This is a huge day of news.
It's game on for Vice President Kamala Harris.
This world has more than we could possibly imagine.
Did you ever think you'd be back on top?
Yes.
Can you believe it?
It's a house of horrors.
This was insane!
I think this is an extraordinary time.
I'll be calling the shots. Gonna tear down the empire from the inside out.
The juice is loose.
Let's get out of here.
Very exciting.
Power comes with a price.
This is an unprecedented, unpredictable presidential election.
Let's go. Wow. Films tell a very unique story of this country.
Let's light this place up!
Well, so we saw a little bit of everything. So do you mind to tell us a little bit more about casting celebrity in a drama, fiction? How does it feel like to do it?
Sure. Well, hi, everyone. Nice to be here. So I'm not head of drama or scripted at Warner Brothers. I'm more on the unscripted side, but I can give you a view from our company. But, well, as you saw, casting is really critical for us across all genres, whether it's finding a host for a sports program, the lead actors in House of the Dragon, etc. But I think the one thing that unifies whatever genre is that the characters need to pop. If they're real, they need to be relatable and authentic. If they're actors or celebrities, they need to be there for a reason. They need to bring star quality and something that the audience, will really relate to. But I completely agree with Dennis, whether it's scripted or unscripted or reality, they also need to have staying power. If you're asking an audience, to stay with you for 8 episodes, the cast has to be able to hold that, whether they're acting, whether it's a reality show, what have you. I think it's the same challenge across all the genres, actually.
But do you think that it's difficult for a celebrity to work with a non-celebrity, and how do you deal with that?
I don't think so. I think it probably depends on the celebrity, I would imagine. But if they know what the project is and it's a really good show, whether scripted or otherwise, I don't think that's an issue at all, actually. You always need, ideally in dramas, a lead actor or an ensemble, a cast of actors that will, help carry the show. But then there's also the supporting, crew and actors around that. And I don't think there's, any real issue. I think it's the same principle, actually. The right people need to be in the right movie or show, whether they're a celebrity or not, actually.
Well, let's go to Christina, because you're also the feminine power here, so we need to highlight this. For your experience that you got in different genres, and scripted and unscripted, what is your experience? Why do you think that it's important?
I mean, I can only echo what Dennis and Lee have been saying. There's various aspects of it. A good casting can make or break a show, and I think we all know this. It can also make or break a career, probably less likely. But the difficulty in casting, I think, is also because there's always a lot of voices involved. There's a lot of stakeholders in the casting process, so it's not just production offering up the best that they could find, but the commissioner or Instagram can have a say in who you're casting, who has enough pulling power, etc., etc. So it's a lengthy and difficult process, I think, but super important.
Thank you. Another topic that we would like to highlight is the new trend. I mean, now the social media is invading our process, our TV industry. So there is a trend to get more influencers, more bloggers involved in the casting, of course. So how do you see this trend, this phenomenon in your experience? And I would like to ask each one of you.
Yeah, I mean, again, social media, it's obviously one and only who knows how to answer that question, why they become as big as, and they're all the influencers. I don't know anybody older than 22, 23, because it was it has the way of such a influence of people try to follow as masses. Either it's going to be like TikToker or Instagrammer or YouTuber or you name it. You know, it is easier to get quicker to the larger audience, and the casting for them, it's obviously triggering whatever the number of viewing is going to happen, so they can easily change. For example, you know, don't forget for the broadcast, and you know, for us, you know, getting on directly to TV. Once you cast it, that's it. You know, you can't just pull out a single person and then, you know, replace it. It is domino effect. So if what you have, it is, you know, what you're going to offer. With the social media, there is always, because it's such a quick way of doing things, even with the casting, you still can, I don't want to say sneakily, but, you know, quickly replace, you know, one person with another within the process, not being as noticed as maybe it would be on the TV as such. So I would say, you know, they can get away with more things than, you know, the broadcasters as such, because as I say, you know, you have it, you cast it, you done it, you took the risk, and you're hoping for the best. YouTubers, they take the risk and they say, you know what, because he's got, I don't know, this many votes, we are going to get a new person who is going to get, you know, and it's all part of the shows, and you can't do this at the broadcast. So this is a huge advantage, you know, with the number of the followers they're doing, they can feel as doing within the process, they can feel the pulse of their audience, and they can change this accordingly. Even if you say, all right, so it is casting, they shouldn't be changing it. There will always, you know, it is natural way of changing it because the rhythm of the, you know, of social media allows them to do it, I think.
And for you, Christina, how important is to cast an influencer or someone from the social media?
I think it's a very exciting prospect. We've kind of tried and worked with influencers for a number of years. I think in the very beginning, we started with major skepticism from the influencer side. It was really, really hard to pull anyone onto a screen, and we're kind of reverting back to this trend right now. But we also have cast a number of people who are super successful online and just didn't work on linear television. That's the importance of the censorship. Whatever their brand is, they're not used to being moderated in any way, shape, or form. And simply the audiences, I think that's also another super exciting part of it. Whether the audiences travel with these or migrate with these people to linear or not. I mean, obviously, that was the general idea for everyone when it all started, but it's not that straightforward. At the moment, to me, it seems that these audiences do stay online, and they don't necessarily jump, at least not in big numbers, to broadcast. But to keep it short, sorry, or it might be too late for that, but I think in some instances it works, and some instances it doesn't. I just worked with the host on the show that we're just delivering right now. He has huge following online, and he's perfect on linear also. Fantastically talented, and it wasn't a difficult transition. So yeah, finding the right person.
And for you at Warner, do you have a policy? Do you have some indications, some ideas about this trend or not?
I wouldn't say we have a policy as such. And actually, on our unscripted channels, our viewers really like relatable, authentic, you know, kind of very passionate presenters. So on our channels like, you know, TLC or Discovery Channel, for example, you'll very rarely find a celebrity unless they are passionate about a particular topic, or if you like. And the same applies to influencers. I think that, you know, in order for them to work with our you know, core viewer, they need to be quite authentic and good at what they do. So maybe we've, you know, in some of our like Food Network, or we have a cooking channel in the Middle East called Fatafeet. they have had some success, especially on Fatter Feet, with influencers in the Middle East. And they bring with them, of course, that marketing power that we were talking about, that, they will have like 3 million followers that will, come. But do they move to the channel? Probably not, because many of them are enjoying the content, on their phones, they're a younger demographic or whatever. But when it comes to some of our bigger networks, we've found that actually outside of maybe the reality shows, where it's, a dating show or something where you might want a controversial figure to add a bit of spice, if it's coming to presenting or acting, I think our consumers would mostly see someone with kind of the authenticity, the passion, the kudos, if you like.
And especially in reality, when you are casting for a reality, do you think that it's important to have some personalities that are exaggerated?
Oh, definitely.
Especially, in the UK show, for example, in some dating show, no? So it's important to have some influencers, some people that are already known.
Well, I don't know if they have to be influencers. I think that, if they are cast well in the show, it doesn't take long for the audience either to love them or love to hate them, and to bring them in that way. I don't think they need to have necessarily a following beforehand. I don't know if you would agree. It's in that casting process, I think, that you can find those characters. I think.
So you can launch new stars through a good casting, no?
I think so, and a good format.
The scripted, no?
Well, I don't know about scripted, but I think in unscripted, if it's a good format, a good show idea, I don't think it matters if, the contributors are known or not. Obviously, if they are known, it makes marketing easier. I think our heads of marketing would
but
disagree
it can
with
work vice versa, no? You can launch a new person through a good casting who wants to emerge, or you can get someone that was already famous, no? Especially in a reality show. What do you think, Danny?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is. It works both ways. You're right.
In both ways. Okay. Another topic that I would love to ask you is diversity, disability, inclusivity, because it seems like an unspoken rule, now, especially in scripted. Even I have to say that in Italy we are a little bit slow compared to the universe. Yeah. But is it true that it's important to have and to respect this unspoken rule?
It is very much. The UK, I mean, our market was like 50-50 US and UK market in terms of the viewing. And you can tell that there is a huge push, I would say, I don't want to say in the last, decade or so, literally to try to get as much as, diversity and every single prospect from the production to the, to the casting, to the show itself. So, somebody saying about ticking the boxes, or somebody saying, giving the opportunities, and, other people saying it is pretty much everything, all of that. Because we discussed about different disabilities, and, that you had a great example. I'll let you do it. So that's very interesting point. Disabled people doing disabled things for the within the show. What you mentioned, and people who have the diversity in terms of making the show. It becomes. You can call it an unspoken rule, but it is a rule because it does. To be honest, it makes more sense because it does open door to so many people and so many different viewing figures because it is if you get those characters interested in the role they are going to be playing, it could be, and 90% from our experience, it is the role they are born for. So, again, through the casting, you can't go wrong, getting diversity through the casting and do it properly, I think that's a recipe for success.
And Christina, for you that you come from Budapest, how do you feel this point?
I think also I have maybe a little bit of a different angle to this question because I work mostly on localizations rather than like US originals, and I think the acceptance in each country is different for these shows. The viewers accept a different type of casting from a local show where they want it to be realistic to the local environment, whereas US shows or international shows they're more open to see a more diverse cast that may not be reflective of exactly their own environment. But I do think that, yes, as human beings, and also as our responsibility in the industry, and as women empowerment, there's so much to thank for diverse casting. So yeah, do what we can, but obviously we have to be respectful to the local audiences or the audiences that we're casting for. But yeah, super important.
Yeah. Well, Lee, you belong to a very big group, and for Warner, this is a very tough issue, very important. So I think that you are the first one around the world that is really following the unspoken rule very strictly, no?
Yeah, I mean, diversity, equity, and inclusion is really, really very much part of our DNA as a company. Has been for some time. I think, obviously, like many media companies, that's become more of a thing, I think, in recent years. And whether it's from scripted, where we will always make sure that the cast members are representative of multiple ethnicities, sometimes with disabilities, or whatever it might be. Same applies to unscripted, where with reality shows, even with some of our major factual shows, we've been over the last few years really trying to make them more diverse. So, for example, one of our longest running big franchises on Discovery Channel is called Gold Rush, and it's had multiple spin-off shows. And in recent years, we really worked to add more women into the cast. It's very much been a male-dominated series for the first few seasons, but that was really important to us. And the good news is the audience has really embraced that too, because I think, to Dennis's point, half the population is not male, and the reality is that actually it's just important that we are more representative of different groups in society too. So you can see the same with series like House of the Dragon compared to, say, Game of Thrones, filmed like 10 years or so. There are many more people of color in main lead roles in the series. And I think also it's really a fair point which Christina's saying, and I think this is where we come in as a global broadcaster or a global media company. I feel like it's our remit to try and be much more representative of the whole planet, frankly, because whether a movie is made in America or a TV show is filmed in the UK, we will likely take it, to many countries around the world. So we can push boundaries, we can go further and be more representative than perhaps some of the, more local broadcasters can do, where it's perhaps a more challenging environment. But that's our role, I think. We're setting almost a vanguard and, kind of moving the envelope to make it, I think, sometimes even easier for maybe smaller companies or local companies to follow afterwards. So, it's now normal in the UK to have LGBTQ+ presenters or contributors being very out and authentic with their lives, on our TV shows. That was not the case 15, 20 years ago. No. But it was by continuously pushing that's now changed, and hopefully that will happen in other countries.
But it changed in every territory, because my example, Italy, is totally different. Yeah, this is a good point. Also, another thing that I would like to ask you is, when you buy a format abroad and you have to localize the format, is it important to stick in that characters? You have to or not, or you can freely choose whatever you want, who you want?
I can only say about selling rather than buying. But in terms of I think the casting, it is very, very valuable question, because it is, for us, it is very, very important to, as you pitch a show, to get the part of the, if you like, cast who are going to be part of it, to push you through this main door, because you have a very good pitch and say, oh, it's going to be 15 different people. And then if you pick up like 2 or 3 people who are potentially going to be in the show and show why this pitch is going to have this extra weight when you see the characters, rather just tell. Doesn't matter how strong the pitch is, unless it's one of these famous that you don't have to pitch anymore. I think that the commissioners is going to look. You probably so many cases have extra weight on it and saying, "Oh, right, it is good pitch, it is very good story, and they have very good potential cast." So the casting is that, even if it's like partly casting, obviously, because you're going to show a teaser of 90 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever it is. And if you get a couple of characters that are going to be in the show, regardless how the format works, it can only help to, to pitch it and maybe to...
So you have to follow. And for you, Christina, in your experience?
I think in my experience, it's a great blueprint that you get when you purchase a format for casting. There is a blueprint, but you are making a local version of that show. And normally the companies that you buy or the consultants that you're working with from the format side are very, very professional and understanding of the fact that you need to localize the show. You need to make this work for local audiences. So I have plenty of examples in that sense, but yes, you follow the blueprint of each type of character, for example, but you have to be able to stray and adjust to your own country or territory. This might be a little far-fetched, but for example, when we shot the Real Housewives of Hungary, for example, obviously we took the character types of the original show, but ran into the problem of the wealthy women of Hungary were not allowed to speak about their wealth and stuff by their husbands. So actually our cast was not as wealthy as it could have been, because those women were stopped from being able to come on the show. So you're kind of going for these characters who can still represent that world, but not necessarily live in that level of luxury. This might not be the best example, but maybe visual enough.
And for you at Warner, that you have a huge catalog of formats that you sell all over the world, is casting a selling point important for the format?
Yeah, definitely. I think we have a whole team who, are across the format sales, and they'll be, exactly as Christina's saying, working with the likes of Christina to make sure that the format's kept authentically, but with the local changes that need to make it relevant, the work for marketing, sometimes regulatory or whatever. But even on our own formats where we localize, so we have a long-running show on TLC called Say Yes to the Dress, which has a very famous host. We could frankly, we have done this sometimes, taken him and put him into different countries, but it doesn't work actually as well as finding the local equivalent of Randy, because then you can obviously film in local language, it feels more locally relevant, it gives you a different way in for the audience. But of course from a scheduling perspective, it's quite clever because you still have your original show, which for us is a big hit. And then you can then partner that and play around with that alongside the local versions and start to build what we like to call a universe around our franchises and formats. So if you're very clever with casting, you can actually bring in more viewers to the original show, which perhaps might have been seen as a bit American or not relevant for me. So it can go both ways if you cast well.
And in terms of making decision, who has the last word in picking up the right person in the cast? The commissioner, the producer, the director?
Commissioner.
I think it's mostly commissioner. Yeah.
Always the commissioner.
Always.
Yeah.
The money people. Yeah.
The money people, yeah. So there is no way. If the broadcaster is saying that they want that talent, that's
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And we were talking about the international award, the prize. As the director of casting is so important, did you see or do you know that there are some prizes or awards for the casting director in our business or not?
Yes, I happen to know that the Oscars are just introducing an award for casting director, but also BAFTA has had an award for casting director. So there's a number of awards around.
So there is.
Rightly so.
Yeah. Good. And last question, because we are running late. When you have a co-production, international co-production, are you forced to choose a talent from each country? Or not? How do you do when you are working with different people, different countries?
When it comes to co-production, it's usually you divided your jobs, if you like. Obviously, subject to what the program is going to be about. Are you going to cast from different countries as a single person, or you're just going to go around and then pick up the people, but it is always 90% is always production company. One part of the production company one production company is going to cast it. the other production company probably is going to film it, is going to do post-production. So it is divided. Yes, they do talk, because what you pick, I'm going to edit. Or, what I'm going to edit, I have to make sure that's like good for cinema. So we do discuss. And then again, there is a money person who is going to say, okay, now have you finished? Introduce it to me, and they will make the final call. So it is divided, so there is no like clashes of, oh yeah, I want you, or I want him or her. Because, for example, these days, just quickly, in the UK, it's huge kind of fashion to have the shows about celebrities and their parents and brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers, going around with them. So it is literally, now you have a celebrity or comedian or whatever picking up his mother and going around the world and, doing the show, or, it's like race around the world. Or there's another, what I haven't mentioned, I think it's very important in terms of the casting, it's the Goggle Box. Mm-hmm. You have so many, like for, 100 years going this, for over 20, whatever it is. This, when you talk about Google Box, it's always the same cast doing the same show in different series. So they always follow the same set of people, never change them. They didn't have to, luckily. So we followed them for years, for 5, 6, whatever, 10 years, keep getting this. So it is, can you imagine, to get such a solid cast? That is art of casting, if you like. This is the most difficult when you have one shot, and that shot you stick with, and they proved to be so good. They're not even actors. They were just being collected. I remember the first actor, so basically, I don't know about Google Box, it is pretty much, you coming to somebody's house, they're watching the show, and they're discussing, what is the show about, and it's very hilarious. So it could be, as I said, parents and, couples, or son and daughter and mother. So it is very interesting, the casting as such, because, as I said, you have one shot, and if you use it right, you have the winning combination.
So any advices, any tips that you can give to our audience?
I would say be brave with casting. I think that for us, like I say, Warner Brothers Discovery, we always are very purposeful with our casting, whether it's on scripted, reality, factual, sports programming. Diversity and inclusion is important. We really believe in that. I think that, for me is important. But I would say be brave. And for us, we've really seen that if we stick to our, on our unscripted brands, stick to our our kind of tenet, if you like, of having relatable, authentic, very passionate contributors and presenters, then it will work. So stick to kind of, what you believe is right for the brand. I think that's the most critical.
And for you, Christina?
Follow your gut as well, I think. Trust your gut. And, I think when we give people chances also. I think that so many times in stuff that I've done, it paid off, of giving someone a chance that wasn't such an obvious choice for everyone. So, yeah.
Thank you. If anybody has some questions, we have a couple of minutes, so we are open to questions from the public.
Oh, it was so good to explaining.
Actually, I have one, if I may. I already have the mic here. What happens when you get it wrong?
Well,
and you lose your job.
I mean, in terms of okay, let's fix if something is fixable. When do you do it? How do you approach it? And how much time do you give somebody, or it doesn't matter if it's a host or the entire cast?
You have no much time as such, obviously, because the series starts rolling and you're catching up, with getting new things. As far from my experience, but it is adjustable to that sense that you put more weight on the people that you can trust they can handle. The way you will, as the audience, you're not silly. You will feel that somebody has more minutes than the others, and there was quite a few numbers of different shows in the UK that are saying, "Oh, right, he was very little on TV." There's the reason behind it, it could be personal reason, or he or she is not good enough, or the others are much better. You as audience, you will recognize it. But we hope that, you with the good characters, you have to cover it. As I say, it is domino effect, so you have no time to change, but you're just adjusting it. Very valid question, so hopefully it doesn't happen too many times.
Because somebody said you have to be, Lou, you said you have to be brave, and I think that Christina said you have to give anyone a chance. How much time does that one person get?
It's a really good question. I think, actually, if I'm honest with you, I think at the moment a lot of media companies are a bit scared of new formats, new shows, new faces, and we see it at our company a lot where, sometimes it's easier to commission season 8 of a show rather than go with a completely fresh idea. But that said, we're constantly looking and testing, for new faces and trying to find new people to fit onto our, schedules and stuff. We do a lot of testing beforehand and a lot of, soul searching about, is this person going to work? But we do get it wrong. When you have a lot of reality and factual shows, often things will happen midway through a season where, a social media post from 15 years ago will resurface, etc. And then we just have to react accordingly, But we're always looking to try and find, new faces and to help launch careers. I think that there are some people who 4 years ago were just running a clinic, a medical clinic in America, and people like Dr. Sandra Lee, the Dr. Pimple Popper. I don't know if you've seen that show, but she's now, globally famous, and that's because of casting. That's because of finding, someone who's really authentic that we can, bring to our screens and stuff.
Well, thank you. I think that we already learned that it's so important to have a good casting. So thank you. Thank you.